Something unusual may have just slipped out of Ford's engineering department. And if the rumors are true, it could change the future of American V8 engines. For decades, Ford has built some of the most iconic V8 power plants ever produced. From the early modular engines to the high-revving Coyote, and more recently the massive 7.3-liter Godzilla, Ford has proven again and again that when it decides to build a big engine, it builds something that gets the entire automotive world talking. But now a new rumor is spreading across industry circles. And this one is different. According to multiple whispers coming from engineers, suppliers, and insider forums, Ford could be quietly developing a brand new 7.0-liter V8 engine, possibly aimed for a 2027 debut. And if the early information is accurate, this might become the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 Ford has ever produced. At first, many enthusiasts dismissed the rumor immediately. A 7-liter V8 in today's automotive landscape sounded almost impossible. With automakers downsizing engines and pushing toward electrification, launching a massive new V8 seemed completely unrealistic. But then the strange clues started appearing. Small details began surfacing inside private technician groups and engineering discussions. A dyno test room photo showed a mysterious engine setup that didn't match Ford's existing Coyote or Godzilla programs. Calibration notes reportedly referenced something labeled 7NA test program, with a timeline pointing toward 2027. Individually, none of these hints seemed significant, but when several of them started appearing at the same time, people inside the industry began paying attention. Then something even more interesting happened. A few Ford powertrain employees quietly interacted with the leaked image online before it disappeared from social media almost as quickly as it appeared. The post was removed, the image vanished, and suddenly the conversation stopped. And in the automotive world, when information disappears that quickly, it usually means one thing: someone touched on something real. Now here's the big question. Is Ford actually preparing a brand new 7.0-liter V8? Or is this just another internet rumor? Because if this engine really exists, it wouldn't just be another version of the current Godzilla V8. According to several analysts, this could be a completely new generation big block design built for the next era of heavy-duty trucks, performance vehicles, and high-load applications. And the timing of this potential engine is not random. In fact, it may be happening for a very specific reason that could reshape the truck industry entirely. Now let's talk about the moment that really fueled this rumor: the mysterious dyno room leak. According to several technicians who follow Ford's internal development programs, the first real clue appeared in a photo that quietly circulated through private automotive forums. At first glance, the image looked ordinary. It showed a Ford engine sitting inside a dynamometer testing cell, partially covered by a black protective cloth. Nothing about the engine itself was clearly visible, but what caught people's attention were the markings on the testing equipment next to it. Two short lines of text reportedly appeared on the calibration screen. One referenced a 7NA test program, and another mentioned a development phase scheduled toward 2027. Those two small details immediately sparked debate among engine specialists and enthusiasts. Why would Ford be running a 7-liter naturally aspirated test program? At the time, there was no known engine inside Ford's lineup that matched that description. Naturally, people started asking questions. Some believed it might simply be an early development version of the existing 7.3-liter Godzilla V8. After all, Ford had already proven that large displacement gas engines still had a place in heavy-duty trucks. But several engineers familiar with Ford's powertrain architecture quickly pushed back against that theory. According to them, if Ford was developing a 7.0-liter engine, it likely wouldn't be a modified Godzilla at all. Instead, it could be an entirely new platform, a next-generation big block V8 designed from the ground up with modern emission standards, improved durability, and much higher performance potential. One powertrain analyst who works closely with suppliers reportedly explained it this way: think of the current Godzilla as the first chapter of Ford's modern big block strategy. If a 7.0-liter engine is real, it could represent the second generation, stronger materials, redesigned cooling systems, and a combustion layout built to handle significantly higher cylinder pressures. That detail is important, because several whispers inside the industry suggest this engine may be designed with something very specific in mind: future forced induction. In simple terms, the block and internal components could be engineered strong enough to support a factory supercharger later on. And if that turns out to be true, the performance potential becomes extremely interesting. But there's another reason why this rumored engine is generating so much attention right now. The timing. Because the year 2027 may become one of the biggest turning points the heavy-duty truck industry has ever faced. To understand why Ford might be developing a brand new 7.0-liter V8 right now, you have to look at what's coming in 2027. Over the next few years, emissions regulations for heavy-duty vehicles in the United States are expected to become significantly stricter. New standards from environmental agencies will push diesel engines into a much more complex and expensive territory. Meeting those requirements will likely demand additional after-treatment systems, more sensors, and increasingly complicated emissions hardware, and that creates a serious problem for truck manufacturers. Diesel engines have always been powerful and efficient under heavy load, but they are also expensive to build and maintain. As emission systems become more complicated, the overall cost of diesel powertrains continues to climb. Industry analysts believe that by the time the next round of regulations arrives, the price gap between diesel and gasoline engines could become even wider. That's exactly where Ford's strategy starts to make sense. Over the past few years, the company has already been experimenting with the idea that large gasoline engines can replace diesel in certain heavy-duty applications. The perfect example of that strategy is the 7.3-liter Godzilla V8. When Ford introduced that engine, many people were skeptical. It looked like an old-school pushrod design in a world filled with turbocharging and hybrid systems. But in real-world use, the engine proved incredibly durable, powerful, and surprisingly popular with truck owners. In fact, many buyers chose the 7.3-liter gas engine specifically because it avoided the complexity of modern diesel emission systems. That success may have given Ford a very clear signal. There is still strong demand for large displacement gasoline engines, especially among heavy-duty truck customers who prioritize reliability, towing power, and long-term ownership costs. So imagine the next step. If diesel engines become even more expensive to certify and produce, Ford could position a new generation gasoline engine as the alternative. A stronger, cleaner, more efficient big block V8 could handle serious towing while remaining simpler and potentially cheaper than diesel. That's where the rumored 7.0-liter engine starts to fit into the bigger picture. Several former powertrain planners have suggested that the next decade could bring a shift where some heavy-duty truck segments move away from diesel and back toward high-displacement gasoline power. And if Ford really is building a new 7-liter V8, the goal might not just be performance. It might be preparing the Super Duty lineup for an entirely new era of truck power. Now let's talk about the part everyone really wants to know. If Ford truly is developing a new 7.0-liter V8, what kind of power could it actually produce? Based on the information circulating among suppliers and powertrain analysts, this engine would likely focus on two main goals: stronger performance and improved efficiency under heavy load. While the displacement may be slightly smaller than the current 7.3-liter Godzilla, the internal design could be far more advanced. Some insiders believe the final displacement could land somewhere between 6.9 and 7.1 liters, depending on how the development process evolves. Automakers often adjust the exact number late in engineering to meet emissions targets or durability requirements. The bigger question is configuration. Will Ford stay with a traditional pushrod layout like the Godzilla engine or move toward a dual overhead cam design similar to the Coyote? Most engineers expect the pushrod layout to remain. There are several reasons for that. Pushrod engines are typically simpler, more compact, and extremely strong at low engine speeds. Those characteristics make them perfect for heavy-duty trucks, where towing power and durability matter more than extremely high RPM. A modernized pushrod design with improved airflow, updated combustion chambers, and stronger materials could easily deliver significantly more power than the current 7.3-liter engine. And the numbers being discussed are impressive. Some estimates suggest a naturally aspirated version of the rumored 7.0-liter V8 could produce somewhere between 525 and 600 horsepower. Torque figures could land between 550 and 650 pound-feet, especially in heavy-duty truck configurations where low RPM pulling power is essential. That would immediately place the engine ahead of several competing gasoline truck engines currently on the market. But the most exciting possibility might be what happens after the naturally aspirated version arrives. Multiple insider reports suggest the engine block could be engineered with extremely strong internal components, including a forged crankshaft and reinforced bottom end. If that's true, the engine could be capable of handling forced induction from the factory. In other words, a future supercharged version could become a real possibility. With the right setup, some analysts believe a supercharged 7.0-liter V8 could push output into the 750 to even 900 horsepower range. That level of performance would immediately place it among the most powerful production V8 engines ever developed by an American automaker. And if Ford really decides to take things that far, the impact on the performance world could be enormous. So if Ford really is developing a new 7.0-liter V8, the next question becomes obvious. Where would this engine actually appear first? The most logical place is Ford's Super Duty truck lineup. Models like the F250, F350, and F450 rely heavily on torque, durability, and long-term reliability. A new big-block gasoline engine designed to deliver massive low RPM pulling power could fit perfectly into that role. If the rumored numbers are even close to accurate, a naturally aspirated 7.0-liter V8 producing around 600 pound-feet of torque would give Ford a serious advantage in the heavy-duty gas truck market. But trucks may not be the only place this engine could show up. Some analysts believe a high-performance version could eventually find its way into Ford's performance lineup as well. Vehicles like a future high-performance off-road truck or even a special edition performance model could benefit from a larger displacement V8, especially if the engine is designed to support forced induction later. And then there's another possibility that enthusiasts keep bringing up: Mustang. Now, this is definitely the most speculative scenario, but the idea alone has sparked a lot of excitement. A limited production Mustang powered by a modern 7.0-liter V8 would echo the legendary big-block racing engines of the past. Even if that never happens, there is one place where the engine would almost certainly appear: Ford Performance Crate engines. The current 7.3-liter Godzilla crate engine has already become extremely popular among builders, restorers, and racing teams. A new generation 7.0-liter engine with stronger internals and higher performance potential would likely become one of the most desirable crate engines on the market. And that's why this rumor has captured so much attention. Right now, the entire auto industry is moving toward smaller engines, hybrids, and electric powertrains. Every year, another naturally aspirated V8 disappears from production. But Ford has repeatedly shown that it is not ready to abandon big engines just yet. From the Coyote to the Godzilla, the company has continued investing in V8 development even while other manufacturers move in different directions. So, if this leaked information turns out to be true, the rumored 7.0-liter V8 would represent more than just another engine. It would be a statement, a signal that the era of the American V8 isn't finished yet. And now the biggest question remains: will Ford reveal this engine before 2027? Or will the company stay silent until the moment it finally unleashes its next monster V8 on the world?